Ladies and gentlemen, could you it's 12 o'clock, so I would like to start sharp. So if everyone can get seated so that we start our session. Okay, good afternoon, since it's 12. Welcome to this special panel on Kazakhstan and Africa, titled Unlocking New Frontiers of Cooperation. So I want you to give a warm welcome to an impressive panel with His Majesty King of Ife, my dear brother, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Rwanda, Olivier, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, Alibek Kwantirov, and our brother from South Africa too, since he's from South Africa and part of the continent, Mr. Igor Ishikovic. He's the founder of Paramount. And another brother from Africa, Driss Benomar, who is a board member of the General Confederation of Moroccan Enterprises. So that's the patronat, as we say in French. So I want you to give a warm welcome to all of them. So the way this session will unfold, I think I would want to see it be an interactive discussion between all of you participating, and then the great panelists that we have. So first I will introduce the theme with some concrete facts, and then each panel member will have a question from me, and then after they react to the question, I would ask panelists if you have comment or question to each and every one as it goes. And then if we have a great discussion, I will ask panelists to have a 1-minute comment on what each and everyone sees from questions that are addressed to a single person or all of them. So this is how it will unfold. So I would like to ask you as well to try and keep the time, because we started at 12 sharp, we want to finish at 1 sharp. So the fact, Kazakhstan and Africa share converging priorities: sustainable growth, energy transition, food security, technological development, and economic integration. And despite the geographical distance, because some wonder why we come all the way from Africa to Kazakhstan, both regions possess abundant natural resources, dynamic youth population, and a shared need to strengthen economic resilience against the external shocks that the world is facing. So what is the objective of this panel? The panel is to explore opportunities for building sustainable partnership in key sectors. But also, the panel is intended as a starting point for building a strategic alliance between Africa and Central Asia, driven by a shared desire to meet the challenges of the 21st century. By bringing together political decision makers, economic actors, and cultural leaders, it aimed to lay the foundation for sustainable cooperation based on 4 major pillars: energy, food security, digital technology, industrialization, and the goal is to develop a joint roadmap, I guess, by 2030 that reflects the shared priorities and complementarities between the region. When I talk about cooperation, I've talked about the distance, and when you talk about distance, it means we need logistics and transport. And I would want each and everyone to react to that and see how in terms of the key sectorial issue that I've mentioned, green energy, the potential cooperation, food security, cooperation opportunity, economic diversification, how digital transformation as well, because Kazakhstan have been in the forefront of that. And also, I think if you could touch the bilateral cooperation, but beyond that, what multilateral cooperation fit in that context, especially with the world we're living in today. So my first question, with no doubt, will go to the Deputy Foreign Minister. So, Deputy Foreign Minister Kwantirov, what motivates your country's growing engagement with Africa, and how do you see strategic logic of this partnership? Because one would assume that Kazakhstan will focus on, being in Central Asia, will focus on Asia. So what brings Kazakhstan to now see put the focus on Africa, and how do you see that unfolding?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to greet you all at this panel session at the Astana International Forum and in general in Kazakhstan. So it's a privilege for us. Yeah, it's a privilege for us to host you all. So regarding your question in particular, since Kazakhstan is expanding its markets, it's expanding its policies, and it's also in search of new markets, the African continent presents itself as a very good opportunity for us to make a base for exploding the bilateral trade and for our exports, for exports of our technologies, IT technologies, space industry products, and also making the food security more possible for our brotherhood nations. So with this idea, we are coming to the world, and that's why connecting minds and shaping the future is the topic of this particular forum. That was said by our president and other speakers at the plenary session and panel sessions. So we see a very great potential with being a middle power with other middle powers on the African continent. So now we can see how the African continent, with all its 54 countries, are growing. So this is a great untapped potential, and we notice that, and we have very equal, very respectful relations with each of the African countries. So the number of embassies on the continent is expanding from our side, and recently we had several delegations to the African continent, and the last one was to Nigeria, where His Royal Majesty King of Ife was hosting us. So great opportunities, especially taking into account just economic pragmatism. So we're ready to export, we're ready to invest, we're ready to receive products directly, not from through the third parties, through third countries to our country, and really it's a big market, 1.4 billion of people living on the continent, and the same with Kazakhstan. We are the leader in the central, not only in the Central Asian region, but also if we look broader, nearby we have Russia, China, we have Iran, and many other countries, the Caucasus, India, etc. So we are providing opportunities to trade much broader than with Kazakhstan and Central Asia. The same, we see your countries as an access point to the African continent and other countries that are not present directly in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I think since we have two diplomats, I will go straight to our brother, the Honorable Minister of Rwanda, and then ask him the following question, or it will be two questions in one. So, Honorable Minister Olivier, what diplomatic and commercial priority do you see yourself, bearing in mind the intervention that both Excellency President Tokayev and President Kagame have talked about yesterday, and also keeping in mind that Rwanda has done a lot in progressing on e-government, on defense, and then digital innovation. So how do you see that based on what the Deputy Foreign Minister said? And then I will get the panel to react to those two diplomats before we move to cultural and youth with His Majesty, and then more commercial issues with the two others.
Thank you very much. I believe that the relations between Kazakhstan and Rwanda and Kazakhstan and Africa in general is entering a new era, and we believe that there is a transformational potential between our two countries and also Kazakhstan and Africa. I think it's true that Kazakhstan has been having trade volume which is very high with countries and blocks of the region, trade with the EU 50 billion, with China 45 billion, and Russia 28 billion. But with Africa, it's only 1 billion, which is still low, but it's increasing. And the position of Kazakhstan, the central position, pivotal position between Europe and Asia, with also the investment in infrastructure projects like the Trans-Caspian route, but also the other route that will go south, the Trans-Afghanistan route that will connect Kazakhstan to Africa through the Indian Ocean is really important. And we have seen potential, those you have mentioned in agriculture, which is an agricultural country, mining, industry, and also ICT. So we believe that we as Rwanda, we have a lot to gain in really increasing our trade and partnership with Kazakhstan.
Thank you. One point both of you mentioned is in terms of tech and cooperation. You know, I want to give one example. Africa leads the mobile money market in the world with 1.1 trillion in transaction in 2024. And yet we're facing a major digital divide. Based on what the two diplomats have said, does anyone in the audience has a comment or a question going in that direction before we move to the other panelists? As I say, I want it to be a lively discussion, so I don't want to be us only talking. Yes, you can give your name and your related institution, and then you can ask your question. Thank you. So,
let me start by answering this question. So, with all our partners on the African continent and beyond, so we are providing and we are proposing our eGov systems, which are very successful, and Kazakhstan ranks 28th at the EU ranking of eGov, and also at the 20th position, at 10th position at other some subdivisions of these ratings. So they are very high quality eGov systems that are already being implemented in many countries. And with all of that, we are also providing expertise. So we're ready to maintain and educate those who will be receiving this particular. And what you said, this is particularly one of the things that is connecting our minds and just, diminishes the difference, the internet difference and access to high-tech technologies between nations, among nations. This is what we are doing, and this is one of the practical things that we are providing. Another example is the well-known Sergec system, which is being used as a monitoring, the order monitoring system at the traffic on the road. So it is monitoring the order and also the order of driving. This is another system that we are providing and commercializing. It's also one of the very successful systems that we are, expanding and exporting these particular services to other countries, and also our satellites. You know that our Cosmodrome Baikonur were the first launching of a rocket, and the first person went into the space. It's on our territory, and so we are developing our own satellites, and we are providing them to our friends worldwide, together with the maintenance and together with educating our partners and their employees to maintain them further. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Kazakhstan has really made important investment in ICT development and also in e-government. We have also been putting in place reforms to provide services online. Most services in Rwanda are provided online, but I've heard that in Kazakhstan they went beyond. Actually, they have an app that you can have all kinds of services. 90% of the services are given online. So we signed actually 2 days ago in our official visit of President Kagame here to Kazakhstan, an MOU on ICT cooperation, and we believe that it is important. And we are also negotiating another one on a space cooperation. He talked about space agency that we visited also, and we believe that this digital transformation, the services online, e-government, are also the way to go in the cooperation between Kazakhstan and African countries, and we are really interested in pursuing this kind of cooperation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. So now that links me directly to the King of Ife, with Nigeria, the biggest, the most populated country in the continent. Nigeria is known for its agro-fintech forum, AI project, trade, logistics. His Majesty, how do you see us engaging youth into this context, and also cultural leaders in the alliance that we're trying to create with Kazakhstan? And I want to add that Kazakhstan also has the tradition of tolerance, because you have many ethnic groups that have been living together in peace and harmony. So that's an example as well that I see personally for my long-standing relationship with them. And then I wanted to see your take on that.
Thank you very much, Moderator. We in Nigeria, particularly the entire continent of Africa, culture and tradition is our way of life. Over the last 10,000 years, it's been very difficult for us to do away with who we are. Even during transatlantic slave trade, culture survived it all. Our tradition survived it all. So it's in tune with who we are as a continent, and a focal point to us in Nigeria. Nigeria being the most populous nation in the entire continent. If you look at the trade in terms of global trade and also our GDP as a continent, the entire African continent has close to $3 trillion in GDP, and our purchasing power parity is close to $11 trillion. So my point is, if you look at the potential that is actually inherent to all of us in Africa, every other continent and country will actually look at the bride. We are the bride in terms of the future bride. We are the future. There is no gainsaying about it. Africa is the continent that should be the focal point for every country and also continent. So for Kazakhstan to be looking at how to quickly latch onto that opportunity, I think it's a welcome development. It's also a welcome development for us in Nigeria, because in terms of our trade across the entire continent, Nigeria takes up to like 30%, between 25 and 30% of the entire trade across board in the entire continent. And we are still scratching the surface, because if you look at human and material resources, we have that capacity, we have the potential. An average age in Nigeria is 19 years old, and a population of close to 250 million people. And you can see we are going to be the third most populous nation in another 20 to 30 years. We will come after China, India. We will be the third. It's based on projection. So you can see the capacity therein for Nigeria not to even talk of the entire continent of Africa. We are all growing in a very geometric progression. So what is critical for us is we are very peculiar in the way we do our things, and we're very similar. At some point as a continent, we didn't have more than about 7 to 8 nations concerning the entire global space of the continent. But we've been fragmented to about 55 countries right now. But what is key is the bedrock of our tradition, which is in tune with our way of life, the bedrock of our culture, which is common to every corner in the continent, and also what we need to offer the entire globe. The future beckons on Africa. I'll give you a good example of coal. Coal, about 100 years ago, a nation that is trying to develop their industrial base can't do without coal. But look at it now today, we're not actually talking more about coal. In another 50, 30 years, it's going to fizzle out. Even the fossil fuel that over the last 60, 70 years has been very popular globally will naturally fizzle out. And we will focus on green energy. We'll focus on how to get a lot of things better. Africa is the main material resource, the main supplier of green energy. Every corner in Africa has the best lithium in the world, and that's where you can get green energy. There's nothing you can use to power green energy other than such initiative. So for us in Africa, it's well positioned for us. It's still a growing economy for all of us, especially Nigeria, and the potentials are so enormous. So I will implore the entire Kazakhstan as a country to be very bullish and be very serious about this, so that it won't be like a talk show. We'll come to Astana International Forum every year, but the follow-up is very critical, and that's the advice that I'm going to give. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Majesty. I think talking about green energy, I think and then you mentioned lithium. And then basically what you're pointing out is that what is critical today or what was critical yesterday might not be tomorrow. And then we are living in a changing world. And yet you talk about energy, but we have 640 million Africans that lack access to electricity, which is a major barrier to human and economic development. And yet in Kazakhstan has committed already to carbon neutrality by 2060, aims to reach 15% renewable in its electricity production by 2030 already. So there's room for those two, and as you say, Kazakhstan to be bullish about investing or in its partnership with Africa. And then I take that, and then I want to ask the audience if you have a point to make, because I mentioned youth, and then I mentioned youth involvement in all what we talk about. If there is a question or a comment from the audience, I'll appreciate it. Yeah? Why don't you get up so that people can hear?
I'm in Nigeria, resident of Nazareth University. So one of the key to this frontiers and cooperation is exchange of know-how in terms of research and also faculty. One of the key. One of the keys to unlocking these potentials is exchange of manpower between the two continents. So the minister from the Kazakhstan side is speaking about the embassies between the two continents. You can see that presently Kazakhstan has barely 4 or 5 embassies in Africa. 2 in Northern Africa, none in West Africa, none in Central Africa, and then 1 in South Africa. So if this cooperation is going to work very well, there is need for for more embassies to be established in our continent. Like Nigeria, I'm from Nigeria. Before coming here, I have to travel to Egypt to get my visa, and that's been a challenge. So then, secondly, in terms of digital cooperation, one of the biggest network in Nigeria being MTN, the network, if you come here, you can't roam. So it's also another problem to business and every other thing. So I believe that this forum would be a good place to address these issues. Thank you.
No, thank you. Before I give the panel to react, I wanted to say, when you talk about youth, that's basically what it is, connectivity. He has to travel to Egypt to get a visa, but I think if what I've heard from the Kazakh-Rwanda cooperation, there is this aspect as well and going visa-free, at least for those who have a certain type of passport. And that's important. I wanted to also mention, as an example, Rwanda is one of the few countries in Africa where Africans do not need visa. You just get in the plane and then you land there, they give you access for a few months. I wish the world was like that, where we can travel freely and then do business in the best way possible, and then elevate a little bit the level of trust, because I think it's a deficit of trust that makes visa issue quite cumbersome. So, Honorable Minister, you have the floor.
So what the issue that you raised is absolutely correct. This is our job of diplomats to easy the way our travelers, and especially businessmen, starting from the diplomats, of course, be traveling between our two countries. If we take into account Nigeria and Kazakhstan, yes, we do not have embassies yet, but we're doing it on the African continent step by step. As you mentioned, there are 5 to 6 embassies that are covering, and for example, Nigeria is covered from Algeria, and we have our ambassador of Algeria, and also covering. Norbert, please. Yeah, you can get acquainted. And also, Nigeria is covering Kazakhstan from Iran, if I'm not mistaken, right? From Iran. Yes. And this is a step-by-step process. We're already working on that, and also together with other African continents, and with the development of bilateral trade. When there are more commercial interests, of course, we will be doing it more extensively. We know that there are a lot of Nigerian students, entrepreneurs, academics, they're traveling to our country and to the region, and we're ready to help, and we'll be doing that. That is why we're meeting with the MFA, both foreign offices. We'll be meeting at different levels, and also the extension of these relations will be expedited with the arrival of His Royal Majesty King Oefa.
Okay, thank you. What I guess,
if you will allow me also to respond, to add some words. My name is Almarbek Akhmetov, Ambassador of Kazakhstan in Algeria, but I'm covering cooperation with Nigeria. Such honor. And as Deputy Foreign Minister explained, we are planning to do this and to ease technically our relations. And this is also the movement in 2 ways. We expect the same cooperation from Nigerian side. We also visited Nigeria in February, and we know that it is not also so easy to get access to Nigeria. So as a diplomats here, we have ambassador of Nigeria in Iran, who is covering Kazakhstan. We will make our maximum to ease these relations and to make as much as possible free regime with the certain passports and step by step in this way.
Thank you. So what I wanted to say, even those who haven't had their question can react to, if you have comment with regard both, I'm talking about of course, Mr. Igor Ishikovic, and then my brother from Morocco, Driss Benoman. If you have a comment on what the audience is asking, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I was just waiting to see what the protocol was here, having not yet been brought to the fore. My foundation has the privilege of running the Pan-African Youth Survey every year. And I'm really very encouraged to see, His Majesty, your shout out for the youth of Africa. Very little known fact, but one of Africa's greatest and most important assets is our youth and the human capital that comes with it. And in the time I've been working in Kazakhstan and invested in Kazakhstan, I've seen that Kazakhstan's greatest asset is in fact its youth and the human capital that comes with it. And the connectivity that you talk about is everything. You know, in the last survey, we asked the African youth what they considered to be a basic human right. And in most places in the world, it would be water, it would be electricity, it would be access to a subway. In Africa, it's only one thing, and that is connectivity, low-cost data, and the ability to move. And Kazakhstan seems to have got that right. We've got to get that right in Africa, and I really think that we need to take serious note of the fact that the one thing that will get our youth into the streets is denying them access to connectivity.
Thank you. Mr. Benuma, do you have a comment?
Yes, I guess. Thank you, everyone. I have a comment. I think, by listening of my colleague here and the floor, I don't know if they realize that 54 countries to do business with is quite difficult. Each country is very different. As you know, we are 54. There is 5 sub-regions in Africa. Each sub-region is very different. And I don't think there is a way of doing business with Africa. I think as we move along, and that will be my next pitch, is that each country is different and we need to have a different approach for different countries.
Thank you. Since I have two of you commenting, my next question was coming to you guys. I think you mentioned connectivity, okay? I was coming to ask you about what type of industry, but before we get there, since we talk about connectivity, sometimes for an African to go to Morocco or South Africa, you have to do 2 steps before you reach there, or even go to Europe before you come to Africa. What are you guys' take on this in terms of transport, logistics, and then you are an investor? Why don't you go that direction?
Thank you. Yes, for me to come from Casablanca to Astana, I had to stop in Istanbul. But there is many different ways. But anyway, there is no direct flight. But I had the privilege to have a dinner with my ambassador 2 days ago. And I think that we are working very hard to have a direct flight between Casablanca and Astana. And I think that connectivity is, of course, one of the best ways to improve and to develop a business between African countries and Africa, and Astana, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
For me to get from Johannesburg to Lomé takes me 3 flights. Or I have to go through Paris. I love Paris, but I don't want to go there to get to Lomé.
Exactly.
Now, connectivity today, in my mind, is a different discussion completely, because connectivity isn't about only moving people. It's about giving people access to the global community electronically, physically, and through the movement of goods. Now, China got this right with the Belt and Road strategy, and nobody else in the world has got this yet. He who owns the infrastructure to move information, he who owns the infrastructure to move goods, and he who owns the infrastructure to move people rule the world. And I think that this is a universal problem, and we have to solve it on the continent first. It is a disgrace. In fact, it is disgusting that Rwanda is the only country that I'm aware of in Africa that gives complete free access to every African. We're fooling ourselves as Africans to believe that if we can't sort out our own movement internally, that we're ever going to sort out our movement internationally.
Thank you. And I wanted to just add on to that point that Rwanda is the only country. I remember when I tell people that I go to Rwanda freely, but I don't have free access because I work closely with the government. But anyone can take his flight the day before and then land in Kigali and then have free access. It makes life easy. But what makes it easy in Rwanda to give free access to all, at least in the continent? I can talk about that. It's the discipline, the leadership, and the way things can be controlled in a manner that whoever comes in knows what is there for and cannot divert from that. It means that we have to tap into governance. That could be a different topic, and then we can get to that at a certain point. And when you talk about connectivity, the same way our young brother from Nigeria says at the Nazarbayev school here, we need to give opportunity for people in the continent to move freely. and then to be able to go and learn somewhere else. We have, since we talk about governance, we have the African School of Governance that is opening in Kigali, and I think that's something that we can tap and then see how Kazakhstan can help in that direction too. So, any comment from what has just been said? Minister Olivier, you have a... Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, since 2018, any citizens of the world from any country can take a plane and come to Rwanda and get visa on arrival. And then we have made exceptions for African countries, so they don't need visa at all. And also other two organizations that we are a member like the Francophonie and Commonwealth. And beyond that, we have signed bilateral agreements to exempt visa for certain category of passport, including Kazakhstan. We have signed last September a visa waiver agreement on diplomatic and official passport. Maybe the next step will be the ordinary passport. But to be fair, I think Rwanda is not the only country to exempt visa for Africa. I think there are two others, if I'm not mistaken. I think there is Ghana and another one. We are three countries on the continent. Yes, but we are talking about this for a long time. I think it's time to implement. It's a challenge to see that it's difficult to travel within the continent, to be compelled to have visas or to go through Europe to come back. So I think, at least on the continent, I think we can also do our homework and ensure that there is free movement of people on the continent, and then we'll talk about the connectivity in terms of airlines and a kind of connectivity at a later stage. But at least free movement of people is important on our continent.
Thank you, Minister Olivier. I think good as well that you mentioned that there are two other countries as well.
Yes.
I think we should keep
Thank
it
you.
out for that. It could start
Thank
and
you.
say, So now, my two questions to both Igor Ishikovic and then our brother Dris Benoma. So I'll give two questions and then you can react on that. First is, which industries and technology have the most potential for bilateral ventures? And then the second question, what strategic levers can anchor a geo-economic partnership between Africa, Kazakhstan, and Morocco as well, bearing in mind that Morocco does a lot of, internal Africa business and industry development. So those are the two questions for you too.
All right, thank you. I will start, Igor. I think by analyzing everything that Kazakhstan is doing and talking about oil and gas, about industry, about agriculture, IT, I think that those are the activities that, if you look at African countries, I think those activities match perfectly of what African countries also need. I mean, all countries in Africa are in mining. I mean, we have a lot of mining, a lot of oil and gas. Agriculture is very important. And I think I see direct link of bilateral cooperation on those activities between Kazakhstan and some African countries. And I think it can also go both ways, because what I'm hearing since we started is that what Kazakhstan can do for African, but there is a lot of goods and a lot of activities that African countries does that can also get to the Kazakhstan market and that we can do business with. And I think this is very important to have in mind, that the cooperation should be both ways, not only Kazakhstan, Africa, but also Africa to Kazakhstan. And I think that business, the way to do business, and I think the best way, and I'm a businessman, I'm traveling in Africa almost every month, is that I see Chamber of Commerce doing a good job, and I think they should be implemented in sub-regional or maybe in countries in order to be there, because Africa needs to see people almost every day, and they need to be in the countries in order to be able to develop activities. Very difficult to develop activities between some countries in Africa and Kazakhstan when we know all the problem of connectivity between the two regions. So I think that by being local in Africa, in some countries, that's the best chance for Kazakhstan to do business in Africa, and the similar for African countries to do business in Kazakhstan. We have to be here.
Thank you. So, I think, sorry? You wanted to say?
Yes, just one thing. I had time to check, actually. We have 5 African countries.
Yeah, 5. Okay.
5 with the Gambia, Seychelles, Benin, and Ghana.
Okay.
Or visa-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Minister, thank you for that. I feel a little bit better, but I still think it's shocking.
So,
you know, I had the privilege of coming to Astana 20 years ago, and I walked onto the step. The wind was howling. I saw the plans for this incredible city, and to be honest, I thought this is a dream from Disney World. And here we stand 20 plus years later and look at this miracle, and this is, for me, remarkable because it's a lesson for every country in Africa. A country that has decisive leadership, that has a plan, that has tremendous hardships, can achieve what Kazakhstan has achieved. It means that every single country in Africa, even those with the worst circumstances, the worst conditions, and the worst histories, can achieve exactly the same thing. 12 years ago, we came here after when Kazakhstan decided that they wanted to create a sovereign defense industrial capability. And after approaching the whole world to participate, I think we were the last people that hadn't said no. And we arrived here with this stupid idea that we were actually bringing real competence to Kazakhstan that they couldn't have created without us. And I've had the most remarkable experience in this country, which again is a lesson for Africa. We did bring very sophisticated defense industrial capacity into this country. I had intended to bring 50 expatriates, leave them here for 3 years, train a Kazakh workforce, and hopefully make a little bit of money in the process. Well, what I experienced was exactly the opposite. We opened our factory with 1 expatriate. That 1 expatriate left after 3 months saying there was nothing for him to do and nothing more to teach the locals. That factory exists now 12 years later, producing some of the finest advanced defense equipment in the world, produced right here in Kazakhstan. So, again, a lesson for the African continent. If Kazakhstan can have had the foresight to develop its own defense industrial capability 12 years ago, here we are in a world where sovereign capacity is critical, and the only countries in Africa that produce their own defense equipment probably limited to 5 or 6. So there is huge scope for collaboration between the two countries. But that scope isn't just about industries. It's about learning from each other in the most fundamental areas that are critical to our survival. We're in a world right now that is becoming severely polarized. Kazakhstan sits in the center of hostile neighbors. Neighbors that are hostile to each other, neighbors that are hostile internally, and Kazakhstan leads the way in showing how you can be friends with everybody. Now, the late Nelson Mandela took the White House on early in his presidency and explained to Bill Clinton that he had absolutely no right to tell Nelson Mandela who his friends should be. And when Africa understood that its real value was to be non-aligned, was to be friends with everybody, was to trade with everybody, was to cooperate with everybody, then Africa had huge power. And today we're in a world where in order to trade with people, you have to choose a side. It's no longer optional, it's now essential. Kazakhstan's superpower is the fact that it remains independent. It's a sovereign with a plan. It's a sovereign that doesn't allow others to beneficiate its raw materials. It's a sovereign that sees and understands its geopolitical role in the global environment. And you know what? Africa is in exactly the same place right now. Africa isn't rising. Africa has risen. Kazakhstan wasn't rising, Kazakhstan is risen. And the truth is that it's countries like Kazakhstan and continents like Africa that are going to lead the world. And we have to join hands now. We have to learn from Kazakhstan's experience. We have to send our students to come and learn diplomacy here. We need to bring Kazakhs to come and learn about what we're doing right in Africa. And we need to forge a very, very strong political partnership, geopolitical partnership, commercial partnership, and solve all of the challenges in the middle.
Thank you, Igor. I can't agree more with you because I've also visited Kazakhstan the first time in the years early 2000, 2003, for a different reason, for nuclear test monitoring. You have to remember that this is a country that has suffered the most nuclear test explosion on the planet. And yet, they came out like a phoenix and then built this country the way we see it. I've seen Astana. There was nothing in Astana 20 years ago. When I say nothing, hardly anything. But I think they've built this country because of the discipline, the harmony, the tolerance that we experience with the different ethnic groups in this country. And I think as an example, I think Africa has a lot to cooperate with Kazakhstan in that respect and then try to build the continent the best possible because the future is Africa. The same way the future has been Asia many years ago and Central Asia, I think the future is Africa. And then I want to call upon all of you, as he said, to start this cooperation on education. Education, education, education. We hear people talking about democracy, 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 but if you don't have educated people, how can you can have a democracy in your country? You have to educate people to know how to choose between two things, to know what is good and what is bad. I think that leads me to now asking if the audience has a point, because we're getting close to the end, and then I want to end sharp. So is there any question or comment? Yes?
Thank you very much. My name is Kehinde Adeni. I work with the organization, the King Imperial Majesty, the organization to promote trade between Nigeria and Kazakhstan. We've been talking about connections and connecting and so on. A major issue to trade between Nigeria especially and Kazakhstan is actually the logistics, especially of shipping. We've talked about connections, we've talked about flight. If you are coming here, you may have to stay like a whole day in Turkey before getting here. But the major bane so far has been, shipping between Kazakhstan and Nigeria especially. One we want to encourage, especially Kazakhstan, being a bit, landlocked, to build some sort of a mega infrastructure, would be like railway linking countries, also super dredging of seas and all that. So while encouraging this, I would want to ask, are there plans towards this? We found a product in Kazakhstan that we wanted to buy to Nigeria. The product was $200 per ton. FOB, and the shipping alone was $350 per ton. So what is Kazakhstan doing in these super infrastructures to further open up the country, especially the issue?
So, Deputy Minister,
that's a very crucial question for us, since we are the largest landlocked country in the world, and in the whole region we have Central Asian countries, Caucasus, all are landlocked. Of course, for us it's a big challenge from one side, and at the same time it's also a big opportunity for us, and we're developing the middle corridor as an alternative route. But at the same time, of course, we're using our traditional route through Russia and then to Europe. At the same time, we're developing the route through China, and at the same time through Iran. What we're doing is we are purchasing and developing ports seaports. We have one in Xi'an, one in Liujiang in China, and also one in the Black Sea in Georgia. And we also are thinking about developing ports on the African continent. Of course, these will be our shared assets and to give us additional opportunities. But of course, it needs more and more investment. That's why it's our this headache. This is the some alternative routes that should have been developed many years ago. But the reality that we are having, and not only with the geopolitical situation, but also at the same time with new opportunities that we are seeing in Africa and other continents, is to, so to say, to bore additional routes through new countries. And the main one that we are having now, and we're developing and heavily investing in it, is through the Caspian Sea, the middle corridor. And you mentioned the dredging works. We're doing those. So we are developing the vessels fleet. At the same time, we're developing also air cargo. What you have mentioned, of course, this is quite an expensive thing to export, right, with such a kind of tariffs. That is why we need to make it more commercial, to have deeper and deeper ties, to have to raise the bilateral turnout in order for us to economize. And I think we will settle that. I've been talking to our Minister of Transport several times, and he's saying, for example, if there is a grain package or something, so at the moment we should settle it, by individual case, and later, of course, we will be doing that systematically. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've talked defense, IT, transport. I wanted to get you guys feedback on food security. Yesterday, during the plenary, you've heard that came as an important topic, bearing in mind that not only the fact that Africa imports 35 billion, I say 35 billion in food annually, projected to reach over 100 billion by 2026-7 already, without transformation. So I know Igor and then Benabou Driss from the Patronat du Maroc. You are in the industry field, and then you've heard the difficulty that you will buy something 200 in Kazakhstan, and then you have to transport it 300, more than the price you bought it. So what are you guys' take on it? Not only the two of you, but I want everyone to comment on that before we ask the audience their feedback as well.
So we've spoken about the distance between Kazakhstan and Africa as being a challenge and a hindrance, and there are a lot of people that are saying, why are we even having this conversation? The distances are so huge. But the world is so connected today that one of the biggest catastrophes of the Russia-Ukraine conflict actually could have been Africa. The food security crisis that was about to be created by the Black Sea grain and fertilizer blockade could have caused a famine in Africa that could have lost us 5 million lives. So here is a conflict on the other end of the world that could have impacted millions of Africans. And food security today is in fact the African continent's single biggest challenge, because with the most fertile land, with the biggest, the abundance of land and the abundance of labor, we still can't feed ourselves. And my comment to this is that the world needs to pay attention to food security in both directions. And at the moment, I was very privileged to have been part of the initiative that got 10 African heads of state to go and engage on a conflict that actually had nothing to do with Africa, but in the interests of Africa. And that was a very proud moment for Africa, because it just goes to show that finally as a continent we found our voice. Now, how does that relate to Kazakhstan? It relates to Kazakhstan because Kazakhstan has huge resources to be able to help in reverse food security. Africa should be investing in the development of agricultural capacity domestically and investing in agricultural capacity in different climate zones. And by reverse investing in each other's economies and each other's agricultural sectors, we will solve the food security issues for the world. A lot has come out of the recent geopolitical issues. We need to learn from them and fix them.
Thank you, Igor. I will add something, and I totally agree with you, Igor, that Africa should be self-sufficient by itself. I mean, like you said, Igor, we have about 60% of the land that should be used in the world is in Africa. We have the land, we have the water, and we have, of course, the manpower to do it. What we can gain from Kazakhstan, actually, is their know-how on making safe food security here in Kazakhstan and to have the similar program in some of the African countries. I think this is something that can be done quite quickly. It's a cooperation between countries and Kazakhstan, and this is one step that will be very interesting and that African countries will really look at and really enjoy this kind of partnership. And if I can add, one of the Moroccan biggest companies, OCP, is the biggest producer and exporter of phosphate and is also the biggest exporter of fertilizer. And they export almost all over Africa already. And things are going quite well on those kind of activities.
Olivier?
Thank you. The issue of the food security is critical for the continent. Actually, Africa should be self-sufficient. As it was said, 65% of the world non-exploited arable land is in Africa. But still, we still have challenges. Of course, we have issues of water scarcity, of climate change, conflicts. But we're also affected by conflict in Ukraine and also COVID. But I believe that our partnership with Kazakhstan should also focus on agriculture, because this is a vast country with rich soil, producer of wheat and grains. I believe that more cooperation and how to link agriculture with the industry, agro-processing, can also be important for Africa's food security. So this is why we as Rwanda, we are really interested in cooperation in agriculture sector with Kazakhstan. We have signed also actually an agreement with Kazakhstan to cooperate in that area, because we believe that it can be fruitful.
King?
Food security is a very fundamental topic that actually has been affecting us in Africa for a very long time. But are we going to continue to talk about the white elephant and not look for solution? For me, as a traditional ruler, it's very important for us back at home to actually practice what we preach. We're not very patriotic about what we do in our continent, and it has actually affected us along the line. And we will take example from what is happening in Kazakhstan right now, and what one of the panelists mentioned concerning the issue of Iran-Ukraine crisis, which could have actually affected us so much in Africa. So we need to look inwardly. A typical example in Nigeria, we are the largest producer of cassava in the world, and yet we are even the largest consumer of the same products. And that same product is needed globally. So we need to look for how to do expansion for it in terms of capacity building. So for us, we are looking at a lot of reciprocity program between Kazakhstan and Nigeria, because of us to blend further the wheat and cassava in order to get a very good and healthy flour from cassava, and also a healthy flour from wheat, for us to actually have a very good living standard. And that is what we're working on in our two different countries. And also, it's going to spread across the entire continent. We need to be very patriotic in what we plant and what we eat and what we produce. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we are 1 minute to the end of this session. I was tempted to ask one comment. If there's a comment from a lady, I will be polite enough to. Is there a lady who wants to comment or ask a question? If not, I want to say something. I want to first apologize because there is no women on the panel. I'm an international, here's a woman making me proud. How about you asking the question? You're the only one who can allow us to go beyond one. Yeah.
Can I use the services of a translator? Good day.
Здравствуйте.
Good day. My name is Shakataeva Asan. I'm a representative of agriculture of Jambil region in Kazakhstan, and I heard that we have cooperation with Africa, and I would like to know in detail about this cooperation and how our region can be participant of this cooperation. Thank you.
Давайте я попробую ответить на ваш вопрос.
Let me answer your question. I am not sure that our colleagues know about Jambil region. We are looking at the expert from the country and the enterprises in the agriculture, particularly in Jambil region. They also can be exported to the African continent. For example, a month ago, you opened a production on the corn processing. They are doing for themselves, Chinese company, but if we're expanding this manufacturing, we can expand our markets. That's why if we're talking about corn or any other grains, the Ministry of Agriculture providing more lands can expand the project and the production, cultivation. It also is the same for animal husbandry, etc. Dairy production. So we have a lot of opportunities. And the first issue that we need to work on is logistics. And whom do we need to talk with to have this opportunity to cooperate with African countries? In Jambil region, we have a lot of lands that cultivate grains. Yes, we need to talk with Castrate. You can have contacts from DR. Thank you very much.
Can't afford not to have a woman asking a question. So, so there's a second lady who wants to talk. The microphone, please. The microphone. So very quick on the answers.
I'll try to be very quick. Yeah. My name is Makbal Bulatov. I'm representing Islamic Organization for Food Security. And regarding this question, I wish to inform that we are working in the domain of agriculture and food security, and we serve 56 OIC member countries, and Nigeria is our member country. So if you wish to cooperate with the African countries in terms of agriculture, you're open to collaborate with you. It's the answer addressed to this recent question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. I think that wasn't a question. So I was tempted to ask you guys in 30 seconds if you have any additional point to contribute to. If not, I see Mr. Benamor. Yeah?
I will have one last comment on my presence here. Morocco signed yesterday an agreement with the International Chamber of Commerce of Kazakhstan to open discussion and business between the two countries. So I think for us it's a very interesting and very nice development on our side and of course of the Kazakhstan. And I just wanted to let the audience know that we are already starting the cooperation between the two countries.
Thank you so much. So what I was saying before ending was that I, as an international gender champion, I apologize for not having a woman on the panel, but we did try. There was one that was supposed to join us, but last minute we couldn't. So normally I'm not allowed to be in a male-only panel, so my sincere apologies. And I want to call upon you to give a big round of applause to panel members for one.
Thank you. Welcome.
I think tomorrow, we need a picture.
Early